What's going on, everybody? It's Let's Go After Dark. At least that's what we're kind of calling this show right now. I'm one of the people you see right now talking, Emmett Davis, and with me tonight is Chris Evans. Chris, how's it going today, man?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Maybe a couple hours ago, I put it in our group chat, said, hey, anybody want to do a thing tonight and talk about it? And just kind of a spur of the moment thing. We can talk about whatever we want, comics, movies, TV shows, all that good stuff. Guys, if you're watching, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Let's Go YouTube channel, and if you could, make sure you go to www.letsgopodcast.com. Check out everything we got going on there. Chris has lots of great reviews, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight, as do I. So just make sure you check that out, and you see our Twitter handles right there on the screen, so make sure you hit that up. Chris, where do you want to start tonight, man? We were thinking maybe we'd talk a little bit about comics that we reviewed or comics that we read this week. So, Chris, what were you reading this week?
This week, of course, I reviewed and read James Tynion's new book, Batman 107, which was a treat as usual, I also, this week, I finally got a Marvel Unlimited subscription. I decided that, you know what? I don't get enough comics as it is, so why not? I subscribed to that. I've been messing with it a little bit. But what I really dug a lot was Batman Dark Prince Charming. Love that book. Well, it's two books, but love that story.
Let's go back a bit before you start. Let's go back to Batman 107. Ever since after Future State and getting into Infinite Frontier, the Batman books have just been, I don't know, you want to say just okay. I tweeted out the other day, like, we have a boring Batman book. It doesn't really push the needle kind of either way to the bad, which is what it was, I would say, before DC Future State. And it hasn't been good, at least in a long while. So what do you think's going on with Batman 107? Maybe just expound on your review a little bit that you wrote for the site.
Keep in mind, guys, we're going spoilers here.
100%.
So I don't hate the book. Like you said, it's not pushing the needle to bad, but it's certainly not pushing the needle to good either. We're more in this mediocre frame where we can't seem to just escape it, because I feel like Tynion gets too caught up in world building and all this other stuff, and he forgets this is a Batman title. This is not a Harley Quinn's Avengers story. It's not Ghostmaker's story. This is a Batman title. And right now, what's working in the book is the Batman stuff, which is what we're not getting a lot of. Like, the Scarecrow stuff is really cool. He's coming off so creepy. It's awesome. Bruce trying to live less large, because he's not broke, but he's not Lex Luthor's money anymore. He's not a billionaire. So he's just living, like a millionaire lives, I guess. And that stuff is good. But then he keeps doing this other stuff that just, it busies up the plot. It takes up pages and panels, and I don't like it.
I think we've talked about it before about what Tynion should be or should and shouldn't be doing with his comic book IPs. I've read some of his indie stuff. Something is Killing the Children that he writes for Boom Studios. And some other small stuff, and it just seems like his style, for us anyways, like I have a feeling that his Batman overall, his run overall, is actually liked by a lot of people, but for us, he doesn't seem like it fits to the the Batman mythos. And like you said, it should be a Batman story, but from the Get Out, when he started after the Tom King run, it's always just about something else, and some new character and some stupid new gadget that he adds in for no reason at all. And then the Joker War, and then now we're getting into this with, there's so many characters in these books. The Scarecrow and the Mayor, and the new one from last week with the the Garden Dogs or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and
Gardner, I think, is the name.
Yeah, and it's just like he's trying to create a comic book that will just spin off into toys and TV shows and other things, and he's less concerned about Batman and his own Batman book. It just seems frustrating to me.
It is frustrating. You know, they gave him the keys to Gotham on this. And so far, he's just hell bent on creating as many distractions as possible. Even in this one issue, you have the introduction of Gardner, who we see her for a panel. It's like, who cares? I'm sorry, but who cares?
Yeah, 100%.
If you do care, I apologize, but I don't. You see Ghostmaker for absolutely no reason. Harley, again, what was the point of that sequence? And then, you know, this is another thing I've been this one's kind of been building slowly for me. These backups. I think they're terrible, mostly. But also, this is why DC is putting the price a little bit higher on them. And I understand it's only like $1 or $2 or whatever it is. But when you're looking at your pull list for a week, and you've got, let's say, 10 books on there, maybe even 5. If one book is $6 and the rest of them are, let's say, $4, that becomes an expensive week for you. And what you're paying for with DC is this extra story that just doesn't matter. And they're so brief. It's like, why is this even here?
Well, it feels funny not to, like you mentioned, a pull list. Like, I know our man Justin dropped the Batman title. He stopped buying it. Like, it seems weird. If I were to go into a comic book shop now and I saw Batman 107 and anything else, I'd be like, I'm not going to buy Batman 107. It's not a must have.
But you don't want to see the new villain Tynion creates this week?
Well, that's what no.
Or maybe like the new Bat gadget. Maybe he's got something now that makes the book good, like a gadget that instant quality.
Yeah, no.
No?
It just no. it just feels so strange, not having a Batman book, like, aside from Detective, which we're both liking, but Batman, the flagship title for DC Comics, it's not a must buy. Some people may think it's good, and that's fine, but I don't know if I'm seeing a lot of people say, you have to get this every week, and if you don't, you're missing something great. And not every issue has to be great, I understand that, but there has to be some redeeming quality to the stuff that we're reading.
I agree. There has to be something to keep you wanting to pick up the next issue, and this, so far since he's picked up the book, there hasn't been many moments like that. But it does have fans. There are people who are enjoying it, and that's awesome. I'm really happy there are people that like it. But it's sometimes, and I've said this before, I feel like he's actively trying to destroy Batman as we know it, because he's just deconstructing and then reconstructing things and adding all this stuff. When like this story especially, all I care about is Batman versus the Scarecrow. That's
right. Which is what I think we both thought we were getting from when we saw preview images of Jorge Jimenez's artwork, which we both really like, and we're both, I think, that this title is grateful that it has his artwork on it, because if it didn't, it would be a lot harder to read. We think the issues are okay, and sometimes they're a go in a case, but without the art from Jimenez, I really don't see a redeeming quality at all. And it's great because Jimenez is so good. He's such a nice and passionate guy about DC Comics and about Batman, so it's really great to see that he's on this book. Maybe Chris, just talk a little bit more about the art if you could, man.
The art I actually have no complaints on, even when it's a design I don't like. I don't even mind. I just like the look of the art. It's very nice, and the synergy between Tynion and him, you could see it in the way it's written. Although I do think sometimes there's too many dialogue bubbles and it clouds up the panels. But other than that, the art is beautiful. But just the atmosphere that he builds around each panel and each scenario is gorgeous, and the way he knows how to make things pop is great too. It's just a really good looking book. If there were no dialogue whatsoever, you would still be able to figure out what's going on just from the flow of the art. And that's something I liked about it.
In the chat here, Mr. Caruso says price is way too high. So he agrees with you that, if you're getting those backup stories, that they choose to add in there just to raise the prices. He thinks it's way too high as well. That's kind of a different topic altogether. But using the backup stories as a reason to jack up the prices seems kind of lame. And everything's more expensive than it used to be. But yeah, I like same thing with DC Future States backup stories. I wish they just made a separate title altogether, or like an anthology book, and added all of them back into it. So it was just one, there were different stories throughout the whole thing, instead of adding them onto the back of a book to make it oversized or so you can add more money to it. Anything else on Batman you want to talk about, man?
I just hope it gets better.
All right. So you mentioned that. Yeah. Well, we had talked about how long we think this is going to go on for. How long you think Tynan's going to be on the run, and we had, I think you mentioned it. Is it going to be until they reboot the universe again? That just seems scary and frightening to me.
Scarier than the Scarecrow, and that's a bad thing.
That's right.
When the idea of the writer sticking around longer than a character that is supposed to be, that's, come on now.
That is bad. You mentioned that you got Marvel Unlimited. Tell me a little bit about that. I've been thinking about. I think I can get that in Canada. I haven't really looked too much into it, but do you have DC Infinite too?
I do.
Okay, so maybe just is there a big difference between those ones?
No, not really. The interfaces, of course, are different, but they're also really similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like one copied the other's homework, which is not a bad thing because they both work really well. The only thing about Marvel I would say is different is the desktop version of it. Like if you just want to use it through the browser, is horrendous. Like it is ridiculously bad. But on an app, it's perfectly fine. I like it a lot so far.
What have you been reading on there out the gate?
Well, I'm trying not to do my usual go-tos, which is X-Men and Moon Knight. I want to read something different, so I've actually been checking out Civil War because I've never read it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the movie, love the movie. I know what happens in the book,
right?
Like most of the beats, but I haven't actually sat down to read it, so I've been dealing with that, checking it out.
Yeah, that seems. I think I've thought about that. It just seems so scary. All those Marvel crossovers are. I don't know where to start, and I feel like even with King in Black that's going on right now, there's still all the the side titles that I wouldn't read just because it would be too much. But if you read just the Civil War without the tie-ins, does it still work?
It does. Now, what's interesting about that is when I got into the app, I was like, okay, that's what I want to read. So I searched for it, and then like 30 books popped up, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have a year to read all this. So something cool that they do actually, the Marvel app that DC's app does not, now that we're talking about it, they do this thing where it'll say like Civil War, the main event or something like that. And it only has the books that are important to the storyline. Whereas DC does not do that.
Mm-hmm.
The DC app will give you, like if you want to read No Man's Land, it'll give you the entire overwhelming list of books to read.
Yeah.
So that is a plus. But yeah, I think that they flow just fine without the tie-ins.
Yeah, well, that seems like it would help for people who are new to the comic books, right? Like for me, I'm not new to comics, but I sometimes I don't know where to start. So if like the app chooses it for me, it would seem like it'd make it a lot easier. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that I don't know if you agree with this, but for me, Marvel's continuity is much more confusing, and it's just more difficult to get into. With Marvel, I feel like you have to find a number one or like the end of a storyline that doesn't, like, it's not too important of a storyline, I guess is what I mean. You have to find some kind of mid-level story to jump in on. Mm-hmm. Whereas DC, for the most part, you can kind of jump in on anything because the continuity doesn't really fluctuate that much.
Its continuity is so strange in everything, and DC Infinite Frontier is now saying that everything matters that ever happened, ever, which is confusing in its own right. And maybe it's a little more simple as well. Continuity is a tough one, and I think if they can make it easy, Marvel's kind of cool with the start of their books. They give a brief history lesson, just in the first page or so, just to kind of catch up on the story. I actually think DC should do that. Just a kind of a you know, this is what happened last week. This is what happened. You know, I don't think they have to put what happened to the character. Like at the start of every Spider-Man book, they say, "Oh, he was bit by a spider." Yeah,
Yeah.
we know who Spider-Man is. You know, but maybe just you know, what happened last week. Why do we care about who the characters in this issue? Because maybe we hadn't seen them in a while.
But if they do that, they won't have room for the backup stories.
Good. Oh, and then we solved it then.
I mean, come on.
we solved how they can get rid of the backup stories.
Yeah. No, but I'm with you. I think that recap really helps a lot, especially in Marvel, because there's so much going on in every book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think they really do standard storylines for the most part. You know, everything feels like an event with Marvel.
Sure.
And that's actually one of my big complaints about them. It's never just like even the X-Men stuff. Everything is an event. And if you miss the event, you have no idea what's going on because everything has changed.
Yeah,
like if you didn't read House and Powers of X, you're like, what is this?
Yeah, that would be really strange. And yeah, Marvel's got another one coming up, Heroes Reborn. Have you looked into that at all?
Not yet. I'm still kind of taking a break from the monthlies.
Yeah, so they got another new tie-in, and they got tie-ins, you know, all over the place. It would be pretty interesting, but and then there's a new thought I saw somewhere about a new X-Men starting, not new X-Men, but new storyline. Yeah, what's that? Sorry,
Reign of X-Men or Reign of X.
Oh,
something.
Reign of 10 or
right. More swords.
Yeah. No. Do you know?
Swords.
You know what's Reign of X?
Reign of X is like the overall event, from what I'm understanding. So you had House of X, Powers of X, X of Swords, and then more is coming. Kind of like, you know, there's the Infinity Saga. So this is the Reign of X. It's just events that happen under one umbrella, just to confuse you more.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, is X-Men can it be simple? Is it allowed to be simple anymore?
Never.
Yeah, like
all you can do is read Wolverine.
Yeah, yeah, like it can't just be an X-Men story anymore, right? Or can it?
I don't even know what that means now.
Yeah,
I really don't. There's no there. They also have like 7 books. Also, you know, there's a ton of X-Men books, and they each have their own storylines going on with you know, a particular character. So that part is cool. It's like a, you know, pick your flavor. I do like that. But
yeah, I remember. Go ahead.
I think Wolverine is probably the easiest to pick up and go.
I was going to say, I remember how excited I was, and I think probably you were too, when, you know, this Krakoa X-Men started. You know, I was pretty excited for it. I remember I was reading all of the books, you know, Marauders and, you know, X-Force and whatever else. And then eventually I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, there's what was it, like, there's like 4 books a week.
Something like that.
You know, in sometimes, and then when, you know, stupid X of Swords started, there was like 6 books a week for however long that was. You know, it just I don't know if I don't know, it must have been popular, it must have worked, or they wouldn't have done it, but it just seems like you're just shooting yourself in the foot with that kind of release strategy.
I don't know. See, also though, I don't know if Marvel really cares what happens to the books anymore. I could be completely off on this, and, you know, maybe I am, but I don't feel like Marvel cares as much, because they have the movies, they have the series. It's like that's old Marvel. That's not us anymore.
Yeah,
we are, you know, movies and TV now. We got Robert Downey Jr. we don't need Michael Bendis, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, now they got Disney Plus too, so they don't even need Robert Downey Jr. anymore.
Right, we got Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that's right.
The real first Avenger. We don't need, you know, this other stuff.
The real first Avenger.
Yeah, the like actual first Avenger.
And the last thing that you said you mentioned reading this week was Batman Dark Prince Charming. I know nothing about this, so you're gonna have to teach me. Lay it on me, man. What do you think about it?
You got a grasshopper. So I remember when this book came out, and I was talking about this on Twitter. I think it came out at the same time as White Knight, and it got completely overshadowed because everybody's like, well, what is this other book? And I've only read some of White Knight. It's good and all, but this is really something special. It's a very different kind of take on Batman, but it's still very Batman. The core story is a little girl is kidnapped, and this little girl may or may not be Bruce's daughter.
Mm.
That's kind of the mystery throughout the story. Because at the start, again, spoilers, the book is also old, guys, so don't kill me. But it's a few years old. The mother comes out and says Bruce Wayne is the father and makes it a very public ordeal. And so Joker, of course, does watch TV, surprisingly. And he picks up one that says, well, I'm going to get Batman to do what I want by kidnapping Bruce Wayne's child. And that's basically what the story is.
Yeah, you shared. You shared something on our chat the other day. A little bit of art from it. I'm gonna just see if I can
love the art.
bring
So
it up. This one.
the artist and the writer are one and the same. He
Mhm.
wrote and drew this book, and it's gorgeous. This panel specifically is funny because it's Gordon vaping.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Uh-huh.
But this art is just beautiful throughout. This is, my kind of, I'm kind of particular with art. You know that.
Mhm.
This is some of the art that I gravitate toward. I love when it looks something like this. And what you could also see in this, the Joker has like a unique look to him. He's not just the standard Joker. He has a little bit of a difference, but it's still the Joker.
Yeah, it's that's the first thing I noticed right away.
Harley looks much more different than him, but she's still Harley.
Was the art style? Yeah, it's so unique.
Mm-hmm.
We got we're gonna bring on a friend here, everybody. We got Rob. How's it going, Rob?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good,
It's
man.
Rob Myers. What's
Rob,
up?
have you read the comic that we were just talking about, Batman, Dark Prince Charming? Have you read that?
No, I have not, but continue. It's over there, out of reach, but that's fine. Continue.
Oh, you have it?
No, I have not.
Oh.
But you have it?
I mean, yeah, it's off to the side. It's
okay.
It's buried in my pile. I kind of know some stuff that goes on in it, so.
Yeah, so Chris was just talking about it. He just got into it. This is the first you read it, Chris? That was this week?
Yeah. I was looking through DC Infinite, like, what's new that I can read that I haven't read before?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that pop, and I was like, well, I guess it's time.
So if it was released today, would it be? Do you think it'd be like a DC Black Label type? Like this, obviously not in
Definitely.
continuity, right?
Definitely.
Is it R rated?
I don't know if I'd call it R-rated, but it is very adult. And some of the art is kind of adult, but I wouldn't say it's R-rated. It's a hard PG-13. Let's call it that. It's right on that border,
Mm-hmm.
Is Bruce Willis going to say "Yippee-ki-yay" one more time? That's what it's at.
Yeah, Rob, we were just talking about kind of stuff we've been reading this week. What did you read this week?
I'm so. My comics come from almost like a mail order service, so I'm perpetually like months, like 2 weeks behind. Although we happen to have gotten an earlier shipment, so the most recent thing that I've read is Robin Eternal, and I just read that today. Wow. So I picked that up at a local shop, and then the books for this week we didn't think we were going to get, but they got in. But I'm actually a couple months behind on some other titles. So it's been I'm like a fish out of water with a lot of the comics recently. So I'm playing a lot of catch up. I'll read things on Twitter, on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't have that book yet. So that's kind of how I'm finding out about stuff. So Robin Eternal from what's that, Future State? I just finished reading that today. So
yeah, what did you think about that one?
I liked it. Being that it was obviously Tim Drake and all that stuff, but I was really like, I took a 2-month break from DC during the whole Future State thing. I thought this was the stuff that was supposed to be for 5G, and it was stuff that was already in the pipeline. So I'm like, so if you stopped it, why are you putting it out? But I realized, okay, that stuff was already in the can. So I was like, all right, it's a Elseworlds thing. And I was always one of those like, nope, it's not main continuity. I want nothing to do with like, let's imagine if Batman was a robot in outer space. Like, oh,
I mean, I would probably read that though.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, now that I say that, I'm like, okay, now.
Mecha Batman versus like Mecha Joker?
Yeah. What if they got transported to Japan and all of a sudden they became these ninja warriors? Like,
oh no.
Oh wait, that was a real thing. It was a movie. Yeah. So yeah, like so for most recent, it's been that, and then I have started getting some of the newer books recently. So
What about anything old? Have you picked up, just look at your comic book shelf and say, hey, you know what? I want to read that again.
I read, what was it the other day? Man, I can't even think of it now. The many deaths of Batman. It was right before, I think it was right after Lonely Place of Dying, that I started reading that run again. I was thinking back in the day, like, oh, that's going to find out about Tim Drake, and he disappears from the book. So I never like really finished that at some point. So I kind of jumped back into that storyline. So
nice. I always wonder about rereading comic books. People always give me a hard time because I have regular novels. Like, what are you carrying having novels in your house for? Once you read it, what do you need it again after that for?
Sound like Seinfeld. After
yeah,
you've read it, why do you need it?
So
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. Do you guys like? I understand comic book collecting, but how often are you guys actually picking up a book, an issue, or a comic that you've had for I don't know, let's say 10 years, 5 years, and just doing a reread of it?
I would say I'm pretty regular, being that my whole show is about books that came out in the 80s and 90s. So I'm always kind of reading things that are parallel into that. Like, all right, we're in Robin, but what was going on in Flash at this time, or what was going on in Green Lantern, to kind of get like a universe build. So it's just really easy to be reading stuff nowadays and go, oh, I kind of want to go back to 1984 when I picked up Secret Wars for the very first time. I think I had issue like 4, and I couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. So begging my mom to go back to the spinner racks and all that stuff. So now having decades behind that, it's kind of cool to go, I haven't read Spider-Man in ages. So I'm more apt to doing that, and especially buying trades. And I see you got some behind you, mine are off to the side. So I'm always a sucker when we're going on trips or somewhere. I rarely take new things to read. It's like take something that's a collected edition, and I've read like Batman R.I.P. a million times, and just different things that I buy a trade and go, all right, now it's just going to sit on my shelf. I'm never going to pick it back up. So I like doing stuff like that, or taking a break from the norm. So I'm pretty regular at it.
What about you, Chris?
It kind of just depends. There's some stories I love to read more than once, like Long Halloween, or I've actually read Three Jokers more than once, or parts of it. The classics, or what I consider classic, those I read more than once. What I don't have a lot of is like you guys buy the volumes, the graphic novels. Since I have DC Infinite, I really don't buy a lot of the collected stuff anymore, unless it's something I really want. So I can't say I reread too much, but there are, like I said, there are certain stories. I'm looking forward to rereading Batman Face to Face. That's a small storyline not a lot of people like, I think, but I happen to dig it.
I like that one quite a bit.
Oh, do you?
Is that the, if I'm remembering it right, isn't that the Batman Two-Face story? And in that, doesn't he officially adopt Tim Drake during that story? Yeah. I like that one quite a bit.
Actually, Tim has his own cover, which is really nice. Do you remember they have those? They were like black and white, and they were like holding different items, like Batman holding a batarang. Yeah. That's the storyline. It's really cool. I love Two-Face stuff. So anytime I get him in a good story, I'm always up to reread it.
Just in the comments, guys, here, Grabs Granite. He goes back to specific moments that he loves to rekindle the passion. And that was passion is something that I would use. I reread stuff that, you read something when you're at a certain time in your life where it maybe doesn't, hit you, but then you read it, 2-5 years later, and then there's something in a specific moment or a specific panel that would hit you. It's funny that you mentioned Three Jokers, Chris. I think there's a lot of moments in that book where it hits you at different moments in, whatever your mindset is. That's what's cool about comics is there's one for, every day of the week. There should be a Batman story or a Robin story or whatever for every moment in your life, right?
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about here, guys? Comics? Who else?
Has everybody watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Rob?
I don't have any of the Disney.
Oh yeah, he
Plus.
hates Disney Plus because you don't
hate
like
Disney
Star
Plus?
Wars, right?
No. I love Star Wars.
You hate you hate new Star Wars.
New Star Wars just kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
But the only reason we don't have it, my wife's like, we're paying this much for cable. Like now we're going to get this, and now we're going to get this. So like getting HBO Max was one thing. So we thought, all right, we'll get HBO Max. So if it's on HBO Max, I've watched it, but so I've actually started buying the DVDs and Blu-rays of these shows. I'm going to start working my way through. And then if you have a significant other that collects the Hallmark ornaments, don't look at the catalog because it will spoil Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, really?
Really?
One of their ornaments spoils the ending of the show. So
whoa.
yeah. So I know who is what by the end of it due to their Hallmark ornaments for 2021.
How can that be a Hallmark?
So can you confirm Dan Levy is a Silver Surfer?
No, I cannot confirm that.
Oh, Emma was waiting for that one.
Son of a bitch, Dan Levy, I tell you.
So
Well,
yeah, I mean, because this is like right in that early season of people are starting. This is when Hallmark starts doing all that stuff. So there's like a whole series of Batman ornaments coming out and Star Wars and stuff. And they're like, "Ooh, Falcon and Winter Soldier." So I was like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." I started scrolling on the page. I was like, "Oh, holy crap! Maybe you shouldn't have made that ornament available right now for pre-order." So
yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this though: Falcon and Winter Soldier is not WandaVision. You know, with with WandaVision, we were guessing every week, well, what's going to happen? Who is this? What's going on? This isn't really like that. This is much more straightforward, standard MCU, which I like.
From what I've been just reading of it, for people, talking about in like spoiler talks. At this point, I'm like, I'll listen to anything because I'm not watching, just so I know. But it's just from what I'm hearing, it sounds like this is just a movie that's just playing out in a much longer format. It kind of follows more of the MCU traditional storytelling rather than have that every episode. Oh my gosh, who's this? What's that? Like you said.
Yeah, episode 5 just came out. How many is left? Is there 2 left? Is it 7 episodes or 8?
I thought it was 6.
So there's only 1 left after this one?
No, we have 2 left. This was episode 4.
Oh, I thought it was episode 5. Sorry.
No, it's 2.
Yeah, so
episode 4,
at the ending of episode 4, I would agree, or before the ending of episode 4, I would agree with you, Rob, that this very much felt like MCU storytelling. There's a moment that happens at the end of this one. Lots of moments, I think, that's very un-MCU-ish. The thing that happens, especially with there's a lot of blood, I'll say. Well, not a lot of blood, but a lot of Marvel blood, I would say, for their
marvelous blood.
Yeah, a lot of marvelous blood.
This makes me want this service so friggin' bad now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's interesting. I didn't like WandaVision as much as everyone else, and the first 3 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was kind of along the same lines. But I think Wyatt Russell is really good in this TV show. As the new Captain America, as whatever John Walker, I think his name is John Walker. Especially in episode 4, I think he absolutely kills this episode, and I think without him, I don't think I would want to keep coming back. Chris, are you a big fan of the new Captain America?
Oh, I hate him. I hated him the first time I saw him.
Yeah,
but I think it's
good
set
hate
up to,
or bad hate.
No, it's fun hating him, but he's set up that way. Like, are you familiar with him from the comics, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're not supposed to like John Walker,
right? Which is funny that he's getting a lot of crap on Twitter right now and just different things. Which I'm like, hey, come on. I feel like Ben Affleck, fictional character,
Yeah, I agree with that.
But he, on the other hand, he must be playing that part a little bit right for you to like. It's translating through the TV where people hate this character. Just know it's a real person. It's it's odd that way.
There is no Wyatt Russell. There's only John Walker.
Yeah.
Let's go, Chris.
Oh, I was gonna say the way that you are set up to dislike him, but the thing about it is you almost do like him in a way because Wyatt Russell comes through and the way he's written. So you're always kind of like on the fence. Do I like him? Do I not like him? But yeah, I don't like him.
I also got in episode 4 about like how much I could understand his, jerkiness and understand his, the stress that he has and to why he kind of goes over the edge. Like, it's not like he has the easiest job in the world either, right? He's the new friggin' Captain America, but he's just a regular guy. And I think that's obviously where it really comes into play with episode 4, where he doesn't want to be a regular guy anymore. He wants to be a superhero. He wants to be all powerful, but he wants to help, but he can't because he's not that good. He's just a soldier. He's not a super soldier. And I actually, I could really understand it. I don't know when I say I sympathize with him or feel sorry for him, but I think, like with Wyatt Russell, and like you said, Chris, he's not Wyatt Russell. He feels like John Walker. Mm-hmm. And like by the end of this episode, I guess I wasn't surprised with what he did. And I guess I could just understand it. I don't know if it was the writing this week, or maybe it was just Wyatt Russell's acting, but I think I really dug the character overall, just because of, getting the understanding of, like, he's not in the easiest position here.
He's not, but has everybody watched Invincible or know what it's about?
Mm-hmm.
Are you caught up with it, you guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not, but that's okay. I don't mind. So I think it's kind of like Omni-Man. We're sympathizing with him too, but he did something horrible. But for some reason, it feels okay to sympathize with him, but not okay to sympathize with John Walker. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel much more comfortable, like, oh, well, he's not from here. He's got a family. Maybe he had a bad day. I don't know. One bad day.
Oh, God, yeah. Bring it back to DC, eh?
Well, that's a good show, too, though. Have you guys been enjoying that, Invincible?
Rob?
For the most part, yeah. I didn't know much of the source material going in than just like, which I kind of found refreshing. I didn't have any preconceived notions really going into the show, so I didn't have to latch on to anything of going, oh, is this just like it was in the book, or is it translating the way that it's supposed to? So I'm enjoying it. I wasn't I didn't know if it was going to be as bloody as it was at first. Like, wow, they're really going for some stuff here. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Have you read any of the comics?
No.
And that's when I saw that this was announced, I'm like, I'm going to go back and read some of the books. And like, oh, it's over 100 issues. That's not going to happen.
I didn't know that many issues.
Yeah, like it's nuts. It's one of the longest comic books I've ever seen. It seems like I guess I could read the first volume, but then then I'll want to read the second one, and then I want to read the next one. It seems like it just take up so much of my time. But yeah, I like the show. It's okay. I had a real big problem with the voice cast.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't J.K. Simmons or Steven Yen, but maybe it was just the side characters. Especially in that first scene. Like, I had a real problem with John Hamm as the fucking security guard. Is
there a way for me to block you on StreamYard? Or?
Yeah, no, I'm the host here, damn it. And it's not that I don't like John Hamm, and then there's one, I think Seth Rogen is another character. It just felt weird to me that big profile actors.
Seth Rogen sticks out. Like, I was like, oh, that's Seth Rogen. I don't mind, like, John Hamm. I was okay with, like, I knew it was him, but I could get in and believe the character, but all I hear is Seth Rogen acting like an idiot. Like,
yeah, and like
it's taking me out. It's taking me out a little bit.
Yeah, and like Zachary Quinto plays like the robot, and he's okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it just like they're actors; they're not voice actors. And what's his name from Walking Dead? Ross Marquard, who was the Red Skull in Infinity War. He does a lot of voice work, so he does like 5 characters in like the first episode, and that's okay. But it was just the big names, like you said. I know that's Seth Rogen. It just feels weird to me. Chris, you're not in line with me on that one.
No, I'm in line, just not with John Hamm. John Hamm does no wrong.
I think that's not to pull it back to DC, but when you have like Batman the Animated Series, they didn't say, oh, let's get John Hamm for this role. Mm-hmm. They cast the right voice. They went for voice and tonality and the earthiness of the actor's voice. And if it was a high profile of like a Mark Hamill or
Tim
I'm
Curry.
blanking on Tim Curry or something like that. They cast, but even with somebody like Tim Curry, they were like, I think we missed the mark. So getting something like Seth Rogen, they're like, oh, we got Seth Rogen. Like, was that the best choice, or did you just cast it because it's Seth Rogen? So
I think that's what it is. It just seems like, let's get a cool, fun voice for this guy. Like especially with the John Hamm character, that could have been anybody. It didn't have to be John Hamm. He could have been like, and that's it. John Hamm's pretty much done for the season now, right? He's only in, a minute or 2 minutes of the show. Aside from that, like the show's good, and like Rob said, it's very bloody. Especially the last 2 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that. Well, I don't know if I didn't see it coming, but I didn't see the blood coming. That's for sure. I'm really digging the the teenager kind of aspect to it. The stuff with his high school girlfriend there. I can't remember her name. And then the other superhero girl that he's kind of got a thing going on with too. I think I like that part of it. What sticks there for you in that show, Chris?
I'm surprised. I actually like the teenage stuff too. It reminds me a little bit of Spider-Man, a little bit of Smallville.
Yeah, Superman and Lois, right?
Superman, a little bit of that. Put those together, I'm happy.
Get a little Teen Titans in there a little bit.
A little bit too. Maybe not like Titans, which I prefer.
Yeah. But
yeah, some Teen Titans, yeah. I like the mix of that. I like the characters. I really like Omni-Man. Maybe that's just me. I do like most of the voice cast, but I agree it's kind of weird. Something that stands out to me though is the action. I don't watch a lot of animated stuff that isn't really DC related. So for me, this is really cool to see these characters beating the crap out of each other, and the way they use their powers, and the blood still shocks me. Like, I was not expecting the last 2 minutes of the first episode. Did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, it's another short season too, right? Like, I think maybe this was episode 5. That's why I was confusing it with Falcon and Winter Soldier. But it's only got a couple left too, right? It's not a long drawn out series or first season.
Oh, is it that 8 or 7 or 8 episodes?
Yeah, it's really short, which I thought was pretty surprising.
I wonder if that's. Sorry, go ahead, Emmett.
I just like an animated show. I just think they could, and I don't know how closely it's following the first volume of the comic, so I don't know if they're just doing that. Like, if it's 8 issues, is that the first volume? Is it only 8 issues? I wonder. I'll look that up actually.
Yeah, that's a question for Zeddy. He's a big fan. He's got looks like a big encyclopedia of Invincible.
Yeah, that's the first 20 issues or 20 volumes or something.
Yeah, he's got it. I'm also wondering if the small episode count might be due to the high-profile talent they've got voicing, because everybody here, I'm sure, is expensive that's voicing these characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's only eight episodes long.
Okay, that's right.
And I'm gonna look to see how long the first volume was. So I just wonder if it's the
if it's following like the collected edition.
Yeah, exactly. What do you guys think about a serious comic book TV show like this? Like we have Teen Titans Go, or we get every once in a while we'll get a DC movie animated that's like it's coming up. We have The Long Halloween, we've had Hush. What do you think about adult comic book TV shows, cartoon wise? Hold
on, Emmett. Zeddy commented that it's page for page with the first. There we go.
Compendium,
because we have that thing.
Zeddy, so like the first compendium is how many issues? I'm gonna look that up while he talks. But Zeddy, how many issues is the first compendium? Because it's like this thick. Like you said, it's like a encyclopedia, like you said.
Yeah,
right?
It's almost thicker than the Walking Dead compendium.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
freaking Robert Kirkman, man. That guy's nuts.
Right. How many pages do you want in your compendium? All of them.
Yeah, I want to be able to kill someone with it.
Yeah,
as many as possible.
Let's see here.
To answer your question, Rob, what did you think about what Emmett was asking?
Yeah, the adult cartoon superheroes.
Oh.
What do you think about that?
That's to me that's the fine line. I'm fine with it, but how you're marketing it. I mean, like all the superhero movies are going rated R. Like I kind of blame Deadpool, and like Deadpool is fine, but more like Logan making that rated R. Then everybody else has kind of fallen on themselves. I will not be surprised if the Batman goes rated R for some reason.
Mhm.
So like some people were mad that Justice League's rated R, but I'm like, if the Batman goes rated R, people go like, oh, this is a classy film. So, but
Classy.
yeah, it's Oscar worthy. Like anyway, like to me, like I'm fine with having like some serious tone, but I'm maybe a prude. Like why? The implication is fine. Like it was much more scary to not see Jaws than having to see him bite through
Mhm.
somebody. So I'm okay with it being out there, but then going back, if I was, 15, 16 years old and I was wanting to get into these books, my mother would be like, no way are you watching that show? Like how many things, if Batman 89 was rated R or mature, like I would have missed out on so much stuff. I may not be here sitting talking if all the stuff was, past the point of being able to get. So on one side of my mouth, I'm fine with it. On the other side, I'm like, is it necessary though? Like there's mature and then there's gratuitous mature for, I just wanted to get 4 more F-bombs in there. I wanted to show the knife going all the way through. I'm like, it can be mature without having to have the flair. So I just danced around that question.
No, that's fine. So the first volume of Invincible is only 4 issues, which is kind of a strange thing. The compendium is the first 47 issues, which the one that Zeddy has. So I don't know what model they're following with the 8 episodes, and they're full episodes, which is another weird thing for cartoon too. I don't think of too many cartoon hour-long TV shows. Like if any of you guys watched, I haven't watched it, but the Harley Quinn cartoon TV show.
Yeah.
How long episodes are those, Chris?
Aren't those like 20?
Yeah.
22?
I was gonna say like 20, 25 minutes max. Maybe?
Max, yeah.
Do you think so? About
Well,
that?
that's where you would think cartoons to be in line with, right?
Right.
But to be fair, Harley, for whatever reason, it seems like when a show is more comedy based, it's 22 minutes or something. But if
And your
it's drama,
dramas.
it's
Yep.
violent. Oh, we need like closer to an hour. Whereas I'm cool with like a 45-minute comedy, but that's just not the way it works. And Harley, of course, leans more toward comedy. And it does not have this level of violence, although it is also rated R.
It's
Right.
got the more vulgar humor though to
It
it,
is
right? That's
very
what,
vulgar.
that's what makes it R, right? Not the violence. It's the language.
It's vulgar
Yeah.
for no
Yeah,
reason.
it's volume. Again, I say about that show has no business being that good, and I'm watching it going,
No.
I shouldn't be watching this, but it is so darn good. But
I say the same thing. Like, I shouldn't be enjoying this as much as I am.
yeah,
It's just so good. And, it made me a fan of like King Shark. I never cared about King Shark.
ditto.
Never.
I say King Shark in the Suicide Squad movie, and I'm like, yeah, give me that. Do not kill that character off.
Exactly. But ask me 5 years ago, why are they
No.
putting King Shark in anything? But now, can we get more?
I would say King Shark. We just saw a lot of him in the recent Suicide Squad trailer. Rob, what did you think of the trailer that we got?
It was awesome. I said the same thing about Guardians of the Galaxy that I'll say about this. I remember going to Guardians of the Galaxy with my wife, and she's like, all right, what do I need to know about this movie? I said, it's a squirrel in a tree. I had no idea who any of the characters were at all, other than, I think I played with that green guy in the Lego Marvel game that we had. Like, I didn't know anything about it. And then walking out of that movie going, oh, holy crap, those characters are amazing. So looking at this going, I'm going in. Like, there's some characters like, Polka Dot Man, King Shark, that's fine. Okay, there's Harley. It's like the characters that I know, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's fine. Let me get invested to all these other characters. So I thought it was funny. Again, it was like, all right, we're going with the R thing, but I'm chucking that at the door, and that's where we're living right now. But
That's our home base at the moment.
Yeah.
Before I get your thoughts on the trailer, Chris, I'm just gonna bring in another guest. Peeps, we got Pete.
Oh, what's
From,
happening, guys?
Straight
What's
out
up,
of Gotham. Pete, we're just
I-
talking Suicide Squad trailer, man.
Oh, awesome! I'm happy. I'm happy to see Rob. I'm glad he was able to separate himself from Zack Snyder's Justice League for a day. I feel like he's been watching it nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop, nonstop.
I'm starting my extra watch after this, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's you got to make time for that one. It's I have a hard time actually watching that one in chapters. I want to watch it the whole way through the straight through the whole time. Back to Suicide Squad, dude, so pumped, can't wait. I want a King Shark toy more than anything.
Yes,
I have to build
a
the
figure
figure.
of Toys
toys.
King
Better
Shark.
give me a collecting connect right
Well,
now.
Rob, remember Mattel before they ceased DC production? They gave us that Collect and Connect King Shark figure with.
I got
Did they?
2 legs and an arm up there, and I'm like, I don't want a friggin' King Shark action figure.
Yeah,
and now I'm
right.
like, why didn't
Yeah.
I buy those 2 other figures?
Have fun spending the extra money on
Could've been-
Amazon, my friend.
Yeah, I know. I sent the hammerhead shark to a friend of mine that was
Mhm.
collecting, trying to put it together. I'm like, good, take the hammerhead. I don't care. And I'm watching the prices on eBay right now. Like, can I spend $90 and
Is
justify
it $90
Yes,
for the
sir.
hammerhead?
that's not.
I
bad.
have both of them. Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that trailer is just both trailers are great. Ah man, I just like I talked to Evans a lot about this on Twitter. I mean, I'm ready for the next Harley movie. You know, Like,
Yeah.
I'm ready for this to just spear gun. Like I liked Birds of Prey, for one thing.
Yeah.
So I'm dying to get another one in there. You know, whether it's Birds of Prey or just another Harley movie in general. But I want to see the Peacemaker show. I could see why Warner Brothers and HBO Max are confident in that. I mean, dude, that dicks on the beach line should not have worked, but it did, right?
I think it worked because of John Cena. I think it was another
Yeah.
actor that would have been the same.
No,
See,
I
that's
agree.
what we were talking about earlier, like casting the right voice, in this case, the right actor. Like when he was announced, I'm like, why are you putting John Cena in a movie? Then
Yeah.
you see him in the costume, like, this is gonna bomb. And then you see the footage and you go, all right, sign me up. Where's my John Cena action figure? Where's my Peacemaker?
Oh,
Give me
man.
that Peacemaker.
You
Where's my
remember
King
all the
Shark?
action figures for the first Suicide Squad? Can you imagine? Like, McFarlane's gonna go make bucks.
Yeah. Rob Myers will buy all of these. Sucker.
I don't think Rob Myers has ever bought a toy in his life. I don't believe it.
Nope. None.
Not a single one.
But
Nope.
yeah,
Chris, what did you give me some overall thoughts on the trailer there, bud?
I love both trailers. I think the trailers, I like how they're both distinct. Like one is very James Gunn. The other one is more, feels like this is the mainstream's trailer. Like the one that's going in theaters, I think is like the mainstream trailer. I like both. Again, Peacemaker, never cared about him. John Cena was cast, didn't even care about that. Then I saw the Dix thing for whatever reason. I was
yeah,
all in on
it's
the
weird. It's weird how that worked.
Yeah,
It
it
worked
is.
for John Cena. It didn't work for the Joker.
Yeah.
No. I was all in for that. Again, King Shark. I got to see King Shark. But what stands out most to me is kind of what Pete was saying too. I think we're going to get the definitive Harley Quinn on screen now, the version anyway. Because I didn't really like her in Ayer's Suicide Squad. I did like her in Birds of Prey, but I felt like we were still getting that hero Harley. This one I think is going to be more definitive, so I'm looking forward to that. Plus, she finally looks like Harley. She's wearing a Harley outfit. I like that just because I like comics to look the way they do, you know.
Mhm.
But most of all, it's James Gunn, so I'm in. I was in when they
Yeah.
announced it.
It kind of feels very slithery to me. Like, have you
Yeah.
guys ever seen Slither?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's my favorite Gun movie. So like, if he can try to match that like intensity and tone and comedy and just absurdity, I'm like all in for it, you know. And Rooker was in that, and he's a blast. So like, I just love those two guys together. So I can't say enough positive things about this movie. I'm just finally glad like we've got these trailers and it's you know it's on the horizon and I'm pumped.
And we're getting Starro.
Yeah, like did you ever think
Starro?
No.
in anything? You know, I just
And it's
bonkers.
nice that it feels like things are finally, as much as I like Justice League and all that stuff, it's nice that like the horizon is starting to move forward again, even with COVID and all the stuff going on. Like we're getting things, but we're not getting things. But to see these movies, like, oh, we are producing movies. We're just consuming them different ways. But it's nice to finally see, you know, the MCU and the DC, whatever it is, even if it's broken off, moving in a forward momentum again. So
Yeah, speaking of forward momentum, we just The Rock's been all
Yeah.
over his Instagram recently, just letting us know that Black Adam started to film. What's everybody's hype level or excitement level for seeing Black Adam, or seeing maybe when are we going to see him in the suit? You know, when are we going to get some pics?
His thighs are gigantic. I can't.
His thighs are bigger
it's
than my whole
nuts.
body.
Yeah.
It's crazy. His thighs are bigger than people's torsos, Rob. You're totally right. Outside of the Batman, this is like my most hype movie, to be honest with you.
Ditto.
It's characters we haven't seen, including Hawkman. Like I didn't dig CW Hawkman personally, but you know, Cyclone, Atom Smasher, Black Adam, just that JSE vibe. Dr. Fate, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate. Like, come on, that's
love
such
that.
credibility right there. And I think this is going to take off, guys. Just because I don't think there's a bigger star in the world than The Rock. He's charismatic. Everyone loves him. You know, people want him to run for president, for crying out loud. You know, it's absolutely insane the star power this guy has, and I think it's the perfect match and just the perfect timing for DC and Warner Brothers. Just, I think it's the movie everyone's really. They may not know it yet, but the general audience is going to go crazy for this, just because it's The Rock.
Yeah, and I love how diverse the cast is.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like Aldous Hodge is Hawkman, and like you said, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate, and Noah Centineo is Atom Smasher or whatever. And like,
Who's Hot Girl?
Not Hawk. It's Cyclone. You mean?
Sorry,
Cyclone.
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
yeah,
can't
it's,
remember her name.
they just like this is probably one of the most diverse casts. You think about Suicide Squad, the Air one. That one was pretty diverse too. With Katana and Deadshot, Will Smith. But this one feels like it's going to be like it's going to be for everybody. This is going to be a big one for DC, and we'll see where it goes. Going forward, how big this movie gets into the DC universe. If it spills into a JSA movie or Black Adam versus Shazam or whatever like that, right? I just feel like there's just so many possibilities with this one.
I totally think Shazam 3 is going to be Black Adam versus Shazam, right? Like that's.
Do you
that's
think
what
we
it's
get a
gonna be.
little hint of Billy Batson in this movie at all, or Shazam? Like towards the
maybe
end
something
credit?
post
I think
credits?
it's a post-credit. I think they would be smart to add that because, like Pete said, we know where this is going. We know the showdown's coming, and I may not be that excited for this movie, but I know The Rock is just money. When people see him, he's money.
The
And
dude
people are
made
gonna
two Jumanji movies, for crying out loud.
They were
Like,
good.
yeah,
They were good. I mean,
Is anybody watching Young Rock?
Yes,
I haven't. I watched it.
It's pretty funny.
it
Is
is.
it?
Same
Pretty
here.
good, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're actually an old school wrestling fan, there's a lot of fun things in there for you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Has he made a bad movie since The Scorpion King? Let's be honest. Like I feel like all his Rampage, San Andreas, right?
I love Rampage. Rampage
Rampage
is
is
so
awesome.
much fun.
I love
Yeah.
San Andreas. One that
Yeah.
my wife absolutely loves is what's the one with him and Kevin Hart.
What is that movie called?
I forget what it is. It's the one
Hold
where
on,
they jump out
I'm
the
on
window,
the-
right?
They're jumping out the window. Yeah,
Yeah.
like anytime it's on, we're watching it. She's like, "Look, it's Kevin Hart and Chris Rock." So,
Who could Kevin Hart play in the DCU? Like, could he be like Mixolydic?
Gaggy.
Like, can we get him
Oh,
in
that'd
there?
that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I
See,
think that
now
would
I
be
want
perfect casting.
Collateral damage.
Central
I would
Intelligence.
love to get
Central
him.
Intelligence. Yeah,
There you go. I'd love to get Kevin Hart in the DCU with The Rock doing something crazy.
yeah.
It'd be great.
He'd be
And
a
I'm
good
with-
Gaggy. He should be Gaggy.
I would love
Okay,
that.
that's not bad. I'll say whatever. As long as he doesn't die, I don't want Kevin Hart dying.
Yeah.
that's right.
But he would have been great in the Suicide Squad as one of those characters that dies in the first 10 minutes.
Him and
Oh,
Pete
man.
Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's rooting for Pete Davidson to kick the bucket in this movie. Like
I hope within the first
Yeah.
5 minutes he's dead.
everyone is just like, I
Pete
can't wait to
Davidson?
watch him die.
Why do people hate him?
I don't because he's young and rich.
He just looks like
Yeah.
You just
You got
look at him.
money,
he-
you need to
yeah.
go.
He just looks like a guy you want to punch in the face. Like he's just
I
got that
don't
look
know.
in his.
Not to. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm not too
we-
focused on John Cena in that trailer. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like you said, the Peacemaker is so awesome in it. Pete, we started out this whole thing with talking about what we read this week. What'd you read this week?
Oh, okay. Well, here we go. Man, I've been going crazy on hardcover Batman books.
Yeah, I've seen
I
that.
read Batman Fortunate Son, horrible book. Don't ever read it. Don't ever buy it.
Oh, dude, I could have told you that.
It's written by a horrible person, so there's that. This one's really cool. I did this Batman Dead Man book. What's it called here? It's on his spine. Death and Glory. That was really cool. I dug that. This classic right here, Batman Son of the Demon, and then Bride of the Demon. So I've been reading that stuff. So 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right? So that was what I've been reading this week. And I mean, I'll tell you what, those Demon books, they brought me back to like old school, just kind of like that James Bondy Batman versus Roz those Batman Roz stories. And I was like, man, these are classics. I mean, I'm kicking myself for not reading them earlier.
I don't know how like those haven't been made into like animated films or something. They're so classic and they offer something different than the standard Batman fare. They're really different and interesting. And plus, I mean, you can't go wrong with Ra's as a villain. I don't care what version it is.
It takes Batman out of his comfort zone. It's literally like the globe-trotting Batman. You know, he's in Egypt, he's in China, he's in all the different places out of Gotham City, which I always thought was kind of cool.
I like seeing Batman out of Gotham, except like, have you guys read that story? I think it was called Europe or something like that with Batman.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny because that book was like, it was always delayed, and then it got delayed for like a decade, and then it finally gets made, delayed. And you're like, oh god, this sucks.
It's so bad. Yeah, that was a terrible book.
Yeah, I was like, the wait did not anticipate. The wait just didn't work for me. I was like, damn. Go on.
Yeah, so Chris and I were talking about Batman 107. Pete, you review Detective for Batman on Film. Maybe we can just talk a little bit about Dan Mora and Mario Tamaki and Detective, man.
Dude, Mora's artwork is something else. This is really Dark Detective was really my first exposure to this guy, and I've really fallen in love with him. He's very creative. Just the way his panel placement is unheard of. You know, like it adds something to the story, and it's very detailed. It's stylized kind of like Jim Lee, but it doesn't look like Jim Lee's artwork, if that makes sense. You know, he's got his own vibe to it. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And Tamaki is really doing some cool stuff. We got this just down to earth Bruce Wayne. You know, he's not as down on his luck as he was in Dark Detective, but you know, he's out of the mansion and into the brownstone. Yeah. Oh, Rob, it was great. Like, Rob, didn't you get Batman Forever vibes when everyone's crashing that party in that book?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a cool comparison.
Yeah. Everyone's crashing through the ceiling.
Your interest was good. His was better.
Yeah.
Showmanship.
It's got this interesting little mystery to it. And she's really putting the detective in Detective Comics. And we've been on a really great run. I mean, what Tomasi was doing beforehand was absolutely fabulous and brilliant. And his Mr. Freeze story was great. And you know, Tamaki has just continued the trend of just excellent writing on Detective.
I was apprehensive. I was telling them before this, I'd kind of like begged off for 2 months during the whole Future State. Like, I'm not reading this junk.
That's when you were reading Marvel, right?
Yeah, that's when I finally read Marvel. But I was like, all right, let's get back in Detective. Knowing like I kind of went in with preconceived notions like, oh, it's the creators from, the Dark Detective and all that
I think
stuff.
You dig Dark Detective, man. I really do.
And I think I need to probably go back and check some of that stuff out. But reading this, I was like, daggone it. I think I may have to go backwards a little bit.
If you like this, you'll like Dark Detective. Because I was really apprehensive about Future State 2. I really was not interested. But then, we're like, well, we should probably give it a shot. And Dark Detective, really, in my opinion, is probably the best book. And I read the majority of them. And if Tamaki is just killing it. There could not have been a better successor to Tomasi than Tamaki. Yeah, I don't think it was possible.
It's a little tongue twister there. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Future State, I thought Dark Detective was up there. I thought Nightwing was really good. I thought all the Wonder Woman titles were fantastic. Yara kind of stole the show. As a new character, I was really impressed with her stuff. But yeah, I mean, Dark Detective was just so gritty and like everything you love about Batman is what it is essentially. And I was interested to see what the showdown was between the next Batman and the Dark Detective, and it was kind of a bummer. It was really quick and there was nothing else to it. But it was, I guess, an okay passing of the torch moment, if you want to call it that.
What do you guys think about the Batman books leading towards Future State? Like these new ones have hints that eventually this continuity leads to what we had in DC Future State. Do you think that's a smart way of playing these next few months out or the rest of the year?
I'm not sure, to be brutally honest, because it seems like a weird game plan to start at the end and then try to go forward, right? Like it was a weird initiative. I don't know how much of 5G was in Future State and whatnot, so I'm curious as to why they decided to do.
Just looking over Chris's head, going, I see Bruce Wayne Batman there. I really have no desire to read anybody else than Bruce Wayne Batman. I mean, that's. I don't want to go to the theater and see, somebody else in the Batman that's not Bruce Wayne. That's not why I fell in love with the character. And if all roads are leading to the end, then my days of buying comic books are like, I'm just not going to read it because you slap Batman on the title. It's Bruce Wayne's Batman. It's fine to take little deviations for a little bit, but the whole time the deviation's going on, you're like, all right, where's Bruce? Where's Bruce? And if that's like, well, we're going to move forward, then this sounds bad, but then I got better things to do.
Well, and that's kind of why Batman Beyond works so well, because Bruce Wayne is so heavily involved, I think.
Yeah.
He may not be Batman, but he's behind the scenes calling the shots, right?
Well,
And that's fine to like have something else out there going on, like an Elseworld, like, well, what if Batman, is something else? That's cool, as long as you're still giving me a Bruce Wayne that I can read monthly, then I'm in for the long haul. But if that's the end, I don't know.
Yeah,
to piggyback off what Rob just said, because I agree with that completely. If I could have both, cool, that's what I want. Give me this option. Yeah. But also, I think why Beyond works is because that Bruce is clearly not able to be Bruce anymore. So, like in the case of Future State, you're telling me that this Bruce, who's perfectly healthy and still of age, is not Batman because Tim Fox decided to wear a suit? Are you serious?
And how did he do it too? Like, where did he get the stuff? Like, Ridley never explained it. Yeah. It was
weird. He just wakes up and he gets the toys. Why? How? But that was his Future State, though.
Yeah. Is anybody reading the digital first, Pete?
No.
Are you reading that digital books there, Pete?
I wouldn't touch that
because he's doing this. He's doing the Second Son with Tim Fox, and I'm a couple issues behind. But I don't mind Batman if it's not Bruce Wayne. I just want a good Batman. And my problem with the next Batman with DC Future State, it just wasn't a good Batman. I don't care if it's Bruce Wayne or not. It just didn't feel like Batman to me.
Yeah, it was weird too. I thought they actually did Ridley a disservice when they announced that Tim Fox was Batman. It's like there's so much setup in like the first issue and a half of him trying to mislead us into thinking it's Luke, and then they told us it's CCXP. Like, why would you do that? You ruined everything. Like, give the guy a shot. You already drowned him before he jumped in the pool.
Well, a question for you and Emmett then, Pete, since you guys have read it. Do you think you would have liked it more if you didn't know it was Tim beforehand?
No, I just didn't think the story was any good.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it would have added anything else. It was just a weird story or a weird choice to say before the first issue had come out that the Batman you think is Batman isn't actually who it is.
It's kind of like on the Holiday Killer.
I mean, do you not like that whole thing on the Holiday Killer in One Halloween?
No, I'm saying it's kind of like if you knew who the killer was before you started reading the book, it wouldn't hit the same way.
Oh, yeah. No, you're
that's
right.
Kind of like the Columbo thing. You get to see the murder actually happen, and then you figure out how Columbo figures out all those things. So that type of storytelling, like, oh, we're going to tell you about it, and then we're going to show you how the progression is. That only works for so long. But I've lost what I was going to say. Oh, like my Batman purist timeline is going, okay, you've got Dick and Jason and Tim and Damian. You mean all four of those people weren't going to be Batman, that it's going to be somebody else outside of the family, and it's the guy that works it. Like, I was like, no, in
it's
the
not
real
even
world,
that guy. It's the outcast of the family, right? Like the guy who hasn't been in Gotham for like 40 years. All of a sudden comes back and he's wearing the bat suit. Like, how did he do this? Like, I think it just should have been explained better. I think you could have started at the beginning. I don't know. The next Batman just didn't resonate with me. I gave it a shot. I stopped buying it. Like, I gave it 2 issues, and at that price point, I think it was like an $8-9 book.
It was $9.
that was the other thing.
It was too expensive for something I don't care about, and then you're throwing Grifter on top of it. Like that's okay. I care even less about that.
We briefly mentioned, or I think Chris did mention Long Halloween. What did you guys watch the trailer for part 1 for the cartoon movie? What did you guys think of that?
I dug it, man. I'm excited. I'm curious to see if it's along the lines of Batman Year One, where it's kind of like, panel for panel, page for page, or if it's like Hush, where it's a true adaptation. Small negative is just I do miss the Tim Sale inspired artwork. Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, Public Enemies, they mirrored the artwork of Michael Turner and McGuinness for their respective stories, and I appreciated that. And I think Tim Sale, it would have been nice to honor him in with at least trying to attempt to, do something with his style of artwork, but it's not going to ruin the movie for me, but it's a bit of a bummer. But overall, I'm really excited for this.
I thought when the trailer first started, I thought the art style was a little jarring. Again, to what Pete said, I was really wanting that Tim Sale, but I'm like, okay, if it's, and this is in like a new continuity line of films, am I saying that?
So this is their new shared animated universe.
Okay. So they're having a line wide. So I had originally thought they were going to, with the new 52 thing, that they were closing that universe down and going to go back to the formula of, okay, here's Under the Red Hood and here's, all these different adaptations, rather than go back to a house art style again. So I can understand it maybe why, like, hey, we can't do Tim Sale's artwork because every movie is going to compound, which kind of makes me worried going, are you going to give me Long Halloween light? Like, it's Long Halloween, but we took liberties in it and you're taking away the essence of it. But some people say with Batman Year One, it went so note for note that it really kind of seems dry. There was like, oh yeah, here's this beat. So I'm torn on which I want it to look like the material, but I want it to breathe. But don't tell me the Riddler's Hush all along. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. So,
Chris, what do you think?
I'll go last because I think I have a different opinion.
No, go for it, man. Go.
I'm not as excited for the movie. I thought that the trailer was cool and all. I do like the art style, but I also hope it's not the standard going forward for them, because I like how like Superman Man of Tomorrow, which is from the same directing team, is very different looking. So that gives me hope that they are kind of going to do every adaptation has its own look. And I like the way this looks. I don't know how Sale's art would have translated to animation. I would have loved to see them try, though. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know how it would have worked. But what I didn't like about the trailer was it doesn't feel like Long Halloween. It feels like I'm watching just a generic Batman movie with the Joker. That's what it looks like. It's advertising. And
really, you didn't get into the calendar, man? Like, I love that scene.
Oh no, I did too, but it didn't feel like that.
It
was
didn't
important.
open that way.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't feel important. What it felt important was, oh, it's another Batman Joker story, and guess what? There's Catwoman because why not? And to my knowledge, or what I remember of it, the story doesn't have a lot of Joker in it. In what I would imagine is considered the first part. I'm guessing it's like 6 months worth of the book. I would think the Joker's not in it a lot, but that's the focus of this trailer. So when I watched it, I wanted to see the Long Halloween. What I got was the Dark Knight. It's got Batman, the Joker, and Harvey Dent. It's not what I was looking for, and Long Halloween is a big thing for me. That's my favorite Batman story. It's a lot of people's favorites, I'm sure. And so going into this, I have really high hopes, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of faith in DC's animation department. They've let me down, and like Hush is a big example. I also love Hush. That Riddler reveal, no, not happening.
Really? Oh man, that totally worked for me. I was like, no way.
It was not having that.
I was the same way. Hush was one of my favorites.
Yes.
And I like the whole thing with Bruce and Tommy, even though, hey, here's this character that's been a lifelong friend of Bruce Wayne, but this is the first time we're meeting him in Hush. But it works. But to take that out and throw in the Riddler, I'm kind of the same way. Like, oh, look, it's the Joker. He sells. So I get it in the trailer. If all we saw was the Joker scenes and that's what it was, and the movie plays out like we hope it does, then I'll go, oh, okay. But I'm like, that's your leading pitch off of a very popular book that has been reprinted a bazillion times and everybody knows what the Long Halloween is. And you give us those 3 characters. So that was my negative with yours. Like it looks good, but I hope it's not going to be
Hush.
a bait and switch. Hush, yeah.
I hope it's not Hush.
I find that kind of interesting because it's like I feel like people did complain about year one and stuff like that, and then they tried something a little differently with Hush, and then it's like you can't win. Like I feel like Dark Knight Returns, everyone seems to love universally, and it was panel for panel, right? And I don't know. I appreciate the attempt to give me something new, but going to what you guys were saying, like too much Joker, it's interesting because I don't think this is something that's for like the quote unquote general audience, right? This is for the fans. Like this is for people who read Long Halloween. I don't think most people are going to be checking this out. So to make it a very Joker heavy trailer is very interesting. And I like that you guys thought about that because that didn't pop in my head until just now.
Would you rather they change things, or would you rather a shot for shot remake? Like you mentioned, TDKR is pretty much a shot for shot remake, and the changes to the Killing Joke were pretty diverse. What would you guys rather? Is something exactly shot for shot, or for them to change some things?
I'm cool with either or, to be honest.
I have a bold statement. Make something new. Mm-hmm. Don't give me anything that I already have, because I already love it. I can read it. Make something new for animation. Make a new animated universe, a new JLU or whatever, a Batman animated TV series, and run off and put little aspects of all these things we like. Because like Pete said, you're going to have, here's a version of Hush. Somebody's like, oh, I like it. Somebody else is going to go, I hate it. You just ruined my favorite story. So if you take that element out and you just give us fresh new ideas, then you can really judge it on those merits.
I'd love to see canceled movies as animated films. Like,
yes.
I've said it before, Tim Burton's Batman 3, Schumacher's Batman Triumphant, Batman Unchained, whatever the hell that thing was actually called. I'd love to see
Batman
that.
versus Superman.
Yeah. Definitely. 100%. I'd love to check that thing out. I'm sure there's a ton of them. J.J. Abrams' Superman Flyby.
Yeah.
I think that's the place to go to, do these things. And it would be different. It would be new. They're fresh. And, you've got them locked in the vault somewhere. So why not just, I don't know. I imagine they have to be shorter because you're not going to make like a 2.5 hour animated film. But that's not true. Dark Knight Returns is like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, Long Halloween will be 2, and one half is PG-13, one half is rated R.
Maybe they could animate. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know.
Maybe 2, 3, and 4.
I mean, the sequels, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that stuff.
Yeah, and DC's doing that a little bit with on the comic side. We're getting like a Batman 89 new comic, and same with Superman. You guys got any excitement level for those ones? I'm really excited for the Batman 89 one for sure.
For both.
Yeah.
Especially for 89 because it's written by Sam Hamm.
Mm-hmm.
Like his Batman 2 script is out there on the internet. You can read that, and I'm interested to see, where he takes the continuity.
Does he course correct a little bit? Like, this is where my idea was originally going.
Does the book take place after Returns, or is he negating Returns? Because he didn't really have any part in Returns. So I'm curious.
I don't know if I've heard.
I don't think they've stated that one way or the other yet.
Okay.
I would
if
think
they're calling it Batman 89, you would think it would come
right.
It would probably take
I would think
take a left turn. Yeah.
Because we all love Pfeiffer's Catwoman, right? Like it would kind of. You don't like Pfeiffer's Catwoman? Evans is a Jesus Christ. I can't figure this guy out. He just watched like Superman 78 2 days ago. He hates Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
I don't hate her. She just not
for me. You like Halle Berry's version more. Don't lie.
Oh, come on.
Well, for other reasons.
Well, no. I love Hathaway's Catwoman. To me, that's Catwoman on film.
Oh no, I'm with you. That's way more definitive. But I think Pfeiffer
Catwoman
kicks ass and Returns. Like, there's no doubt about that.
I think it'd be just kind of cool to see in the 89 comics, seeing Two-Face.
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams is Two-Face, and I think that'll be really cool. And if they do that, I think that's the craziest thing ever.
I mean, we got a little bit of that in the Lego Batman movie. He was able to voice Two-Face for a little bit, and that was fun.
Do you think we would get Marlon Wayne's Robin, or would they pull in Chris O'Donnell's Robin?
I want Marlon Wayans.
I think they're going. I think Marlon Wayans. Well, Quinones, he teased that Batman 89 artwork years ago, right? And that had Pfeiffer's Catwoman, that had the Marlon Wayne's Robin in there with the mechanic suit and the R.
Okay.
So maybe that's kind of where they're going. The whole Burton verse. Maybe they do ignore the Schumacher stuff, which I would be fine with, because then in my head I'm like, can we get Akiva Goldsman to write a sequel to Batman and Robin in comics? Like, I'm all for it. Like, I don't care if they use the Kilmer or Clooney Batman. Like, either one's fine for me.
That kind of makes me miss the idea that we could have had Robin Williams as the Riddler in this too, because I guess they can't use the likeness for him, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it rumored too that like Mickey Dolenz was involved in Riddler talks at one point for Tim Burton?
I want to say I think so. That
You heard
sounds
that too,
really-
Rob?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not making that up. He had the shaved question mark in his hair.
On his head. Yeah.
Like I would love to
And I'm
see
a big
that.
Monkeys fan. I would have been like, hell yeah.
What aren't you a fan of? Let's be honest.
Yeah, right. I'm a fan whore. It's out there. I like it.
Rob gets around for sure.
That Peter Criss has seen things.
That's right. Cover your eyes.
Did anybody read anything not Batman this week? Chris talked about two things Batman, and then he talked about Marvel Unlimited. Pete, you talked about Batman. Rob is kind of off on his own world. What do you got there?
I actually was wanted to read that.
Yeah. I actually picked this up today and read this a couple hours ago. So
How was it?
it's pretty good. It's McFarlane. It was like circa 1998 when the Psycho Circus was going on. So they took all those, like the action figures that you can't see back here.
I
they
had
took
some of
their-
them. Awesome.
Yeah, took some of those alternate personalities that became the Catman and all this other stuff.
Cool.
So told a cool story. So I picked up the one where they brought in Eric Carr's the Fox character and how he briefly came in as a samurai. Cool story.
I'm about a week late on my floppies, but I did pick up issue 2 of Nocturna, which I was really into issue 1, and I
How
feel
was
like
that?
this book has been getting a lot of praise lately. I'm dying to get Big Grizz has been talking about it, so I'm dying to dive into. Is it Geiger or Giger? How do you pronounce it?
I'm going with Geiger.
You're going with
I-
Geiger.
I went with Giger.
I was going with Giger too, Rob.
But that's- I'm like,
me
if
and
that's what I'm going with, that
pronunciation.
sounds wrong.
Yeah. No, I was really into Nocturna. I was kind of like I like reading the I guess you can call it an indie book, right? Like I think anything not DC and Marvel is technically indie, right?
I do too. I'm with you.
so I was into it and I checked it out and I was like, this is like a really cooler version of Pitch Black. Like that's kind of how I took it. And Snyder is on fire. I think his latest American Vampire 2 is really good. Also, The Nuclear Family by Stephanie Phillips. She's writing Harley Quinn right now. It's one issue in. I think it's really interesting. It's kind of a cool play on like the nuclear war type threat between America and Russia and everything. I thought that was cool. And I'm really digging her stuff since I found her on Future State Harley Quinn. So that's those are the kind of non-capes and tights books I've been reading.
I think Phillips is a writer to keep an eye on. She's doing some great stuff.
Yeah, man, I'm really digging her stuff. She really kind of future going back to Future State, like she took Harley Quinn and kind of made her Hannibal. You know, like kind of
I
that
love
like
that. That was so
criminal profiler, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like, I'm just happy to get past the Deadpool Harley, to be honest. Like, while I love what Amanda Connor and Jimmy P did with her and how they kind of rejuvenated her a little bit and reinvented her, I'm really into like this new Harley Quinn, this like, I call her PhD Harley, right? Because it's the same. Harley Quinn White Knight's doing it. Stephanie Phillips is doing it.
Harleen did it.
Yeah, exactly. Harleen was the first one to do it. So I think we're heading in for a new direction with Harley, and I think Phillips is really doing a great job leading the charge there.
Chris, you're always banging the drum about Harley Quinn, man.
Yeah, I think the character has taken such a turn since I want to say since Harleen, but even before, like in her solo book, when they took her away from the Joker and she was doing that storyline where she had the championship belt, like a wrestling belt, and she had to do different tasks. That kind of put her on a different wavelength for me because this is interesting. She's not just Deadpool; she's doing something else.
Yeah.
Anytime they could give her something to do where it's not just, hey, Puddin', let's blow up an ice cream factory or some shit like that. I'm in for it. And this new personality of hers where she's showing that she is intelligent. I love it. You know,
I dig all versions of Harley. I'm a huge Harley fan, so, but I'm really enjoying this. And man, I had something I wanted to say. I forgot what it was, but no, I'm just digging it. I'm all about it.
I'm glad she's not one note.
Yeah.
That was my fear. Like after the animated series left, I was like, and she had a couple little spots. She showed up in Hush. I'm like, okay, that's probably it for her. Then like Pete, like you said, then she became like Deadpool. I'm like, please don't let her land here. So I'm like that. Harley's really becoming this onion that they're just peeling more layers, and it works for this type of character. It's almost sad now that DC is trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice. Then like, here's Punchline, and I forget who this new person is. Like, just stop
Gardner?
trying to create. Yeah,
Whatever Tynan's flavor of the week is.
yeah. Quit trying to create Harley 2.5, 2.9, and all that stuff. Great, make something new like Harley was. Like Harley was lightning in a bottle that just exploded. You know.
Do you
So-
think she got too big too fast and DC didn't know what to do?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think Harley is, the fourth head on the DC Mount Rushmore at this point. I think
agree.
there's the Trinity, and I think she surpassed the Flash and whatever Green Lantern you want and Aquaman. I think Harley's up there. She's just too big. She's too popular. Everyone knows who she is. She's. I mean, every Halloween up until COVID, she was everywhere. She's at every Comic-Con. There's at least 50 million Harleys.
Mhm.
She's
And
as
from-
popular as anybody.
From all ages, which goes not to bang the rated R thing, but when you have a
Yeah.
female character and young girls can't get into this character because she's got to do all this crazy stuff, it's harder to build that young fan base and go, oh, we'll catch them when they're 21. If you're not catching them when they're in their younger stage and they can't watch the Harley Quinn, animated show, as funny as that is, you're losing that. So it's amazing she's lasted this long, but I think they've got to find some of those avenues for her to peel off and get to be accessible for everyone.
Well, she's in DC superhero girls and stuff, so there's definitely
Yeah,
avenues for
yeah, that's
young
true.
children to find her as there are. That's why, like, when people were freaking out about Justice League being rated R, I'm like, I mean, guys, come on, it's how crazy can it be? But then again, like, my parents let me watch RoboCop as a child, so like,
Right.
Yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
used to
say-
violent things.
I watched The Crow in theaters.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it didn't bother me. But even like my 7-year-old knows who Harley Quinn is. She watches DC superhero girls. She has seen me watch the Harley Quinn show, but she hasn't watched it. She's even familiar with the character. She has such a broad range. I think everybody who sees her mostly likes her, but you got, like Rob said, you got to keep doing stuff with her. You can't just keep her on the same route. Nobody, everybody's gonna get tired of that. Nobody's gonna want to read about her anymore. Nobody's gonna want to watch her.
that's kind of what they've done, though. She's gone from hench girl to solo character to Deadpool to now, she's
PhD
criminal
Harley.
profiler. Yeah, like
Mhm.
I do give them credit for not, she's definitely not a one-trick pony, and they definitely have tried things with her. So, and I think that's what's made her so popular. Like, there's definitely a Harley Quinn for everyone.
What do you guys
Now-
think about the? Sorry, Chris, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, Tynion, and I'm not praising this, by the way. Tynion is also trying to do something new with her. He's making her a full-on hero now.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead, Emmett.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the movie side of it. We got Margot Robbie as Harley. People think she's the definitive Harley. Can there be a Harley Quinn without Margot Robbie now?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's going to
Everybody-
happen at some point.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, so if we get her in Suicide Squad, and maybe if we get her one other time, and then I guess maybe would the Harley character be done by then, or are you guys comfortable with a recast, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've lived through Keaton, Clooney, and Kilmer. Like, it's second hat for me. That doesn't bother me as much.
Mhm.
McGuire, Holland, and
Yeah,
Garfield, like Garfield
can-
and Holland almost back to back.
yeah.
Pretty much
You know-
back to back.
It doesn't bother me. Like, recastings don't bother me as much as it is like how, like, I feel like the MCU, in a way, like, I would love another Captain America movie, but I feel like I'm never going to get it
Mhm.
because I feel like they're just going to chug on and Steve Rogers will never come back. Right. Like, I mean, I'm sure you can get creative and figure out a way, but it kind of bums me out that you can't just reboot it and let's go. Let's tell a story. And so like I have no problem with them recasting if the time comes. Whether it's Harley Quinn, it could be Wonder Woman. I mean, we're getting a new Batman. Affleck's not Batman anymore, and at the same time, Keaton's coming back. So.
Well, that was like with the Black Panther with Chadwick passing away. I'm like, recast the role.
Yeah.
And people are like,
I
no.
know.
Like, I would think if you would have asked him to have the conversation, do you want us to recast the role or keep it? He would have probably said, like, let the legacy of that character continue for what we started. You got this great, amazing character. And to go, oh, now it's going to be his sister. Recast the role. Find another actor that can personify T'Challa, and people will buy into it because they love the character rather than sidestep it. So I think that would be a perfect example of the actor's not around. I mean, there's probably got to be a little time there, but I think that character deserves to have a prominent face in the MCU.
Yeah.
No actor is bigger than any character. That's the way I look at it.
100%, 100% right. No actor, no director. None of them. The character's been around for 80 years. The character will be around while we're long gone. So this character is forever. Actually, to be honest,
Batman is forever.
They're all forever.
Oh,
They all are forever. And it's like like Tom Hardy was an awesome Max. Like I love the 3 Mel Gibson Mad Max movies, but like when Tom Hardy took over the role, like was I bummed that it wasn't Mel Gibson for like 20 minutes, and then I moved on and I was like, okay, no, this is Tom Hardy's movie, and I was into it. And even Solo, like that kid, like
I
I was bummed it wasn't Harrison Ford, but like it was cool. I thought he did a good job. Eventually at some point Harrison Ford doesn't want to be Indiana Jones either. It's going to happen, but
yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be
Indiana
Jones or Diana Jones or whatever it is.
just Diana.
Diana Jones. Yeah. All right, guys, we're just at an hour and a half here. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Thanks for joining us. Rob, man, promote what you got going on, man.
Everyone Loves a Drake is finally coming back after our month hiatus. Kind of took just a little bit of a breather. I think we had like a 6-year stretch where we were churning out episodes, and we had a little spring break and thought, set that back. So the Drake is coming back. Everyone Loves Young Justice. Jay Oz and I are trying to get that thing back up. I was just texting him the other day. He's like, okay, I'm free. Then I would say I'm busy. Now I say I'm busy. Now I say he's free. So we're getting that back. And then a podcast that maybe features some of these guys is literally in the works with a couple people. So we're keeping the name under wraps, but there is a Twitter account out there if you can find it. So more on that later. So we're keeping it under wraps.
Work.
Yeah, just look for an eye and you'll find the account. Yeah, you know that eye. So yeah, that's what I got going on. You can find me on Twitter at DrummerRob10 for all my other ramblings.
I feel like you've got a million Twitter accounts, Rob. I think I follow like 5 different Rob Myers accounts.
You want to talk, man? Don't you have 3 Italian ones and a Batman?
But they're all different themes. Like Rob has all these Rob Myers accounts.
Yeah. So do you have a problem with having multiple accounts that you just grab your phone and you'll tweet something out and you'll see it and go, crap, I put that on the wrong page. And people start liking it and you're like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's good cross promotion.
Yeah.
Pete, what about you, bud? What do you got going on?
You can follow me on social media. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Zack Snyder's favorite Vero at Pete Illustrated. You could follow my show that I co-host with the champion of Long Island, Eric Holzman, Straight Outta Gotham, straight_O_G on Twitter and Instagram. Check out our Straight Outta Gotham Facebook page and our Facebook group. Also, you can check out my Italian Spider-Man coalition that I joined forces with the Vigilante 1939, that's Sausage and Meatball, Daddy Bats, and Nico Caruso, doing all things Guinea for Spider-Man and Italian Spider-Man. You could follow at Team Yellow Oval as we try to campaign Andy Muschietti to bring back the iconic Yellow Oval for the first time since 1995's Batman Forever. Matt Reeves turned us down, but Andy Muschietti is part Italian, so I think he might actually do it. And check out my reviews for Dark Detective, Detective Comics, and Man Bat, which is a fantastic series on BatmanOnFilm.com. On Batman on Film YouTube, I got toy reviews for Mafex, McFarlane, and Mattel figures, as well as interviews with Tara Strong, Kevin Conroy, Lauren Lester, Tony Todd, and a bunch of other titans of the industries, including Mr. Michael Uslan. And that's all I got. So I take it away.
Chris, what about you, bud?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at thatchris70. please follow the Let's Go Podcast Twitter account. It's at Let's Go Podcast. I do weekly comic reviews there, mostly the Batman stuff. I also do Batwoman reviews, and I have a weekly show with Nick Zednick from the Vigilante 1939 called World's Finest, where we talk something Batman related and something Superman related.
Perfect. You can follow me right there, Emmett Davis 7 on Twitter. Like Chris said, make sure you follow the Let's Go Podcast on Twitter. Make sure you go to www.letsgopodcast.com where you'll find reviews for movies, TV shows, some of the Vigilante boys, Zednick and Nico Caruso Nico's doing Invincible reviews right now, and Zeddy was doing Superman and Lois, but he's currently doing Falcon and Winter Soldier reviews. Make sure you check those out. We also have the merch tab. Make sure you go on there, order some shirts from TeePublic, and the Vigilante Boys got TeePublic as well, which Rob showed off. And if you're watching this video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. In saying all that, I'm Emmett Davis. Thanks for joining us, guys, and let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We got rad friends, rad friends, rad friends.